Oh, that's
Sorry.
right.
Okay, we are streaming and recording.
All right.
Thanks,
This
Lisa.
is the negotiations committee, and we have one agenda topic that'll be public, and that's discussing some potential memoranda of understandings. And then we'll go into closed session to discuss food service and custodial negotiations. So that's why we sent the two links out, because this first one will be recorded and available, the second one won't be. So, but why don't we just jump in, if you don't mind? We'll talk about these potential MOUs. And of course, I don't have the sheet in front of me to list all of them that we've been kicking around. So I'll just start, and then hopefully we'll catch all of them here. We've been, the state and the federal governments are providing additional money to schools to provide in-person summer school for this summer and maybe next summer too. And so, to help address learning loss, because undoubtedly, a lot of kids have fallen behind. The problem, though, that we suspect is that we're going to have a lot of people who will not want to put in extra time this summer just because they've had a grueling year, all year. Going between learning models and learning technology and not knowing what's going on. And so the administrative team and I have been talking about the possibility of increasing pay for just this year's summer school. And so that's why, we'd like to consider an MOU with the teachers group to pay them their daily rate of pay for just this summer school, or this summer school this summer. Won't mean forever, but just this one summer. Right now they earn, in past years, they earn either $25 or $30 per hour, depending on if they have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. That's the curriculum writing rate, which is the same amount that we pay for summer school instruction. And we don't think that's enough. And so if we converted it to an hourly rate of pay, it would be higher for every teacher. And of course, if there's somebody with, significant experience, it could be $10, $15 more per hour, roughly. So we think we might be able to get a few more. Pam?
On the MOU that you sent out with the background information, the first bullet, you say pay teachers their hourly rate of pay instead of their curriculum rates. But then the fourth one down says pay teachers $200 a day. So.
Oh, yeah, that's a different MOU.
Groups?
Yeah, a different MOU. I'll have to explain that other one.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm glad you're asking the question. Sometimes I put these sheets together too quickly and I don't explain myself, well enough. So yeah, this first one would be potential MOU for the hourly rate of pay just for summer school. We also need support personnel, which would include our classroom assistants, special education assistants. And, they already get their hourly rate of pay for work in the summer, but we thought that perhaps we could increase it by $2 per hour, during summer school hours. So that's another possibility. And then we also have food service workers who, have been working, throughout the whole year. And, Brent's suggestion, and I think it's a good one, would be to pay them an extra $2 per hour for work exclusively with the summer food program just for this summer. So those are the three things. And, usually it's and I'm supportive of all three, as long as we have the budget to pay for summer school and the budget to pay for the extra hours for the food service. The only negative I see is that as soon as we pay a higher rate, for some employees, then there'll be questions about, well, why are some people getting higher pay and not me, for example. And so that's the negative to doing it. We do have custodians, secretaries, student support coordinators, of course, administrators that work all summer. And so in my mind, they would not qualify for the additional pay because they're contracted to work already during those days. This would, if you think that we should pursue it, this would only be for those who have worked their 9 months, during the school year, typically would take the summer off, but we want to incent them to join us this summer. So I know I hate springing stuff on you like this, in short order. But do you have any initial thoughts about at least those 3 MOUs?
To me, it makes sense to provide that incentive, especially if we're getting the funding from state or federal funds in order to provide summer school, which will likely be much needed. So it makes sense to put an extra incentive in there to make sure we have the teachers and the support staff to do that. So I like this idea.
Well, we talked a little bit about burnout. Like, this has been a very unprecedented year, and a lot of teachers are just needing a break. And so, and I don't blame them. I would want to as well. But, maybe a little extra pay might attract some folks to hang in there with us. Also, I think some of the learning loss, I think it's going to be a big job for some students to fill in some of the things that they've lost. So I think there will be some extra effort that's also needed on both, on all 3, well, the support personnel and the teachers. So yeah, I'm in favor of that as well. I think it makes good sense.
Anna, do you have any gut reactions?
No, I agree with what you said. My only question with the food service workers is just since we are in the middle of, figuring the contract, I don't recall, when does that contract start, or it's supposed to start?
Yeah, it starts, they're contracted through June 30th. And so their new contract would start July 1st.
July 1st. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm just not sure, and I don't know how this would need to get incorporated. For the month of June, if the new contract includes a pay raise, you know what I mean? Like, is this $2 an hour over the June rate and over the July rate? Or, you know what I mean? Like, I think we just need to make sure that we're clear on exactly what they're getting for the month of June, and then also for July and August, where the other workers, their rate of pay is probably not going to be changing on July 1st. So that was just my only first thought for clarification. But otherwise, I agree with what everyone has said about it being worthwhile, and also again that we have the funding. So that's my only hold up with paying people more, is just, do we have the money to be able to do it? So if there's the extra funds for it, I think it's great.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point about that July 1st line. I think it's also true for the support personnel as well. I don't think it would be true for teachers, because it's, those $25 and 30-day rates have been, oh no, actually it would be, because if we go to their daily rate, then they would earn one rate until June 30th, and then their new contract also starts on July 1st. So yeah, and I should acknowledge the other negative is that it's a payroll issue, because Holly already gets a whole bunch of different rates, and then all of a sudden we approve something, and so she has to do retro, and then July 1st there's a whole, so that it's a complicated process for her. And so we'll have to look at that with our HR department and see what makes the most sense. Maybe it's just one rate for the whole summer, or maybe it is better just to follow the July 1st change. So yeah, and definitely we'd want to make sure that our funding is adequate in order for this to work out. Well, if you don't mind, then I'll start working on those MOUs, and also make sure that the budget makes sense and that we can use COVID to pay and look at all the rules and regs. So we have some time. We could either take it to the board on August or April 19th, or even in early May, after we get all the regs and the budgets. So I'll kind of work towards that then, and kind of go from there. There are a couple of more MOUs there. One Pam referenced. Currently, our teachers, if they don't use personal leave during the year, they can actually cash in some of that personal leave for $125 per day. And that number was picked many years ago because it matched what a substitute would get. So, that's why it was set at 125. This year, because of COVID, well, the sub rate has gone up with time, but we really jumped it up this year because of COVID. We needed to get as many people in as possible. So right now we're paying our subs $200 per day. My thinking is, well, let's incent teachers again not to use their personal leave. And I thought, well, we could increase that pay amount to $200. The problem is that we cannot do that because of state law. State law specifically says that we cannot reopen negotiations during the actual approved contract for teachers. So right now they're contracted through June 30th, so there's no way I can change the reimbursement for personal leave. Double checked with the attorney because I really wanted that part. So, I'm sure that there'll be, many teachers who will still want the $125 a day, if they don't use personal leave. But we'll probably have higher rates of personal leave use here over the next month or two. So, and then the last one it's an MOU for kind of a tiebreaker for seniority for teachers. We have 5 criteria to determine who's higher on the seniority list. And there are, from time to time, we can, there's a tie even after those 5 criteria are considered. So that might be something we'd want to consider, but I think we could do that probably through the regular teacher negotiation process, because I don't think that's an issue for this year in terms of budget reductions. That's the part I was worried about, but there are no continuing contract teachers who are being proposed to be discontinued. So anyway, but I wanted to acknowledge that there had been some discussions there, and hopefully we can address that during negotiations with the teachers. That's all I have for the MOUs. Does that make some sense there?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think that's cleaner too. I mean, I think if we started changing that I didn't realize those first bullets were just all summer school stuff, and then the last 2 were something different. So my apologies for that. But yeah, I think makes much more sense to talk about this during negotiations, those last 2.
Yeah. Well, that sounds good. Any other questions about MOUs or why we do MOUs, the process, or anything like that? Okay.
Is there anything else that we can do to provide an incentive for teachers to not use their personal leave in the next 2 months besides an MOU?
Well, we can't open up compensation.
Right.
So, I'll talk to Kirby or some administrators and just see if we can brainstorm something else. I was thinking, maybe even in the next contract, we could work something into it. I just don't know what it would look like because I want to make sure we don't violate the state law. So,
Right.
yeah, if you have any ideas, if you want to shoot me an email or give me a call, we'll definitely take any good ideas to incent people, to stay in the classroom as much as possible. By the way, I am not critical in any way of teachers or other staff members using their personal leave or vacation. I think it's
Right.
so, I know that I still have 3 weeks of vacation left, and I know the weekends and the extra hours, this year, and so I want to make sure I use them just like teachers and paraprofessionals, everyone. So so I can at least empathize there.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt
Yeah.
about it. I mean, I just am, I'm just thinking about all the different things that they've had to go through and endure this year. And, kind of like the cooks and how we were able to give them a uniform allowance because they were working outside and doing something different than what they usually do. Is there something along those lines, something that teachers have done that's above and beyond? I mean, that, that we could compensate them for in some way, shape, or form.
Well, we
I
have
don't know what
some
that
creative
is, but-
minds, so
Yeah.
we'll definitely think about that and see what we can do. The one difference between teachers and the other bargaining groups is that state law specifically addresses we cannot reopen the teacher negotiations. but we can, if we want, reopen food service and custodians. And so that's why we're able to do the one-time MOU for the uniforms for
gotcha.
food service.
I
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
Well, but maybe with the, maybe there's a way that we can tie that into the next negotiations too, instead of reopening something. But as we start bargaining with that group, maybe that's where we provide some more incentives or compensations or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay, I got it.
Mhm. Well, good. Now, the next part, we're gonna have, if we could actually have a formal motion to go into closed session as per the statute that I listed, for the next item. And then if we could also just say that it's for the purpose of negotiating with the Cooks Association and custodians. And so what we'll do is we'll go into closed session. We're going to log out of this meeting and log into the 405 meeting invite that Lisa sent to us. And what we'll do that, just again, I'm just saying this for the good of the public. We'll close the session to discuss labor negotiation strategy, and we'll focus on those two bargaining groups. And then after that, we'll formally reopen the meeting, and then we'll just adjourn right away. So we won't talk about anything else because it's too complicated to go back into open session. So we'll just do the adjournment. So, but yeah, if you wouldn't mind just having an official motion and a second, and then we'll go ahead and do the roll call vote just to make sure that's covered.
Well, I'll go ahead and move that we move this negotiations meeting into a closed session to discuss the cooks and the custodians' labor negotiation strategies.
Yep, and that's as per the statute that's listed. Yep.
I'll
As per
second.
the statute.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jennifer. Do we need to vote on that, or can we just move?
Why don't you just do a quick vote just so we can include that in the minutes?
Okay, so let's do that roll call. Jennifer Tift,
Aye.
Anna Ostendorf,
Aye.
Pam Rowe votes aye. So it
All
is
right.
4:20, and we'll go into closed session.
We'll see you in a minute.
Karsten, did you wish to continue recording this meeting? Or will we
I
not be
don't-
coming back into this one?
I don't think so, because we'll just reopen the meeting and just adjourn. So I don't think we need to keep it on that long.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.